Hey fellow beaders, it's JP and I have another bracelet tutorial for you. So I'm posting on Wednesday and I'm calling it Wild Wednesday. Because of the number of different types of beads that are out there right now, beading has become sort of the Wild West. You have so many options and so many different things to try. So what I wanted to do was do a tutorial on Wednesdays that's with the new beads that are out there. So this tutorial I'm using diamond duo beads, and every Wednesday, my Wild Wednesdays, I'll be trying to do a tutorial with some new type of beads. I picked up a lot of different ones. I've got some tangos here that I picked up from my local bead store. I ordered, I think, some crescents, and I've got the round trios and the round duos and the disc duos, and so all the different beads that the Potomac Bead Company has out. I have quite a few of those. I've got these triangle beads that have the two holes. I forgot what these are called. I'm not sure. Anyway, I got these from my local bead store too. So, as I'm explaining, I'd like to play with these new beads, but I also want to continue doing my tutorials where I'm using beads that are pretty common and that you probably have in your bead stash. So those tutorials are going to be on Sundays. So it's called Bead Stash Sundays and Wild Wednesdays. And hopefully you guys will enjoy both tutorials. And I also wanted to do tutorials with the new beads from a left-handed perspective. As you may have noticed, I'm left-handed. And I think it's a little bit trickier to do some of these beads, especially these two-hole beads, and try to kind of follow the right-handed beaders and do and flip things around for the left hand. So hopefully I'm, helping you guys out, and hopefully you like this tutorial. So what you need for this tutorial is you're going to need 6 diamond duos per component, or per unit. These aren't actually separate components. It's all connected together. And you're going to need 8 4mm rounds. So I have these faceted round beads that I'm using. Pretty much anything 4mm would go. I'd recommend a round bead though, because I think it's going to sit better. Though a bicone will probably work in this situation too. And probably even a 4mm fire polish. You're going to need some 8/0 beads that I have here, and of course 11/0 seed beads. In addition, you'll need some jump rings and a clasp of your choice. I'm just using a basic lobster claw. This particular bracelet is, I believe, 5.5 inches. I wanted it to sit fairly snugly against my wrist, so I didn't make it very big. And I was also limited in the number of diamond duos that I had, so I wasn't sure if I'd have enough. I needed a bigger bracelet. But you can do this accordingly then, so you know how much you need per unit. In this unit, basically from here, this end, to these rounds over here, that's about 1 inch. And so you can kind of plan this out accordingly and figure out how many of the diamond duos you'll need and so forth. So you might need to do 7 or 6 units depending on the length of the bracelet you need. Well, hopefully you guys will enjoy this, and you won't thumb me down for doing a sort of new bead tutorial. Okay guys, let's get started. To begin our bracelet, what you're going to do is string 6 diamond duos together. And you want to do it so that you're in what's I would call the bottom hole of the diamond duo, the way I'm doing this, hopefully. Or I guess if you're looking at it, it's the left hole of the diamond duo. So I'm going to get all 6 here on my needle. And of course I dropped them. Well, you guys get to see some of my bloopers. I'm not going to edit that out. So I got 4 on there. I'm going to put these 2. And I'm just going to pull them, get them down to the bottom of my thread here. and I'm going to tie them together. And it's kind of okay that they're flipped over because I know they'll fall into the right direction once I get this knot in place. And give yourself a little bit of a tail, which you'll have to weave through later. But I'm just going to do a square knot like I typically do whenever I make a circle. And so there. Now they should kind of be lying flat. And these are actually really fiddly to work with. So I hadn't worked with them before, and I started playing with them, and wow, didn't realize they're more fiddly than the super duos. But that's what you should get. And then what you're going to do is take your knot, go through one of these well, I'm going to go through all of them because I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this. But you just want to get the knot in one of the holes in the super duo. So that's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to pull this a little tighter. So you want to make sure that they're kind of lying close to each other. And so this is actually my first time working with diamond duals on camera. So I was working out the design for this bracelet and was surprised at how they can be a bit challenging. So I thought it might be a little challenging even doing this on camera. And it is. Or at least I mean, it looks kind of clumsy, and that's okay. You guys know how this goes. I mean, beading isn't going to be perfect no matter what you do. Or at least you shouldn't have to be perfect. You should be able to have some fun with it. Okay, so there it is. And what I'm going to do is actually move up into this second hole. And of course the tail is wrapped around the thread. I think this is going to be one of those videos where I'm a complete klutz on camera and you're going to be like, why should I watch her? She doesn't know what she's doing. So here it is. And I know the tail, you can see a little bit of that thread, but don't worry, that's not going to last very long. It will disappear. You will not be able to see it once we get going. So I'm going to pick up one of my 4mm rounds, and I'm just going to go through the next diamond duo, the top hole. And I'm just going to continue this and go all the way around until I've gotten the little gaps between the diamond duos filled up. So there you go. There's the piece. It's going to be a fairly straightforward piece. I didn't try to make it too complicated, especially if you're a beginner. And I wanted to do some of these because I'm left-handed, and working with some of these 2-hole beads and trying to reverse the direction that you see in some of the other beading tutorials with the right-handed beaders, it can be tricky. So especially if you're a beginner. I know the biggest trouble I had when I was first starting out was learning how to do right angle weave, watching being taught by right-handed people. It was just getting, your brain to sort of reverse. And so it took me a little bit, but I did figure it out. So what you're going to do now, as I fill in this last one, is go into the diamond dual and then into the next 4mm here. And here's what the piece looks like with the beads in between. And yes, I know the thread's showing. Don't worry. We are going to make that tighter and the thread will not show. Now you're going to do what I do in a lot of my videos. So I'm going to make a loop around the 4mm rounds I have here. So I'm going to pick up 5 11/0 seed beads, and I'm going to go back through that same 4mm that the thread is coming out of. Just like that, go then through the diamond duo and into the next 4mm. And we repeat. Pick up 5, go through the round, okay, so I have a loop around both, two of my 4mm rounds. I'm going to go through the diamond duo and the next 4mm, and I'm just going to keep going. So just out of curiosity, if you guys don't mind commenting below, let me know which beads you've worked with. Since there's so many new bead shapes out there, which ones did you work with? Which ones do you like? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Oh, and you know, if there's one bead shape that you want me to do another tutorial on, let me know that too. I can't promise you that I'll be able to get to it. I do have a bunch of ideas of my own, and I ordered a whole bunch of beads just so I can try them all out. Okay, 2 more. But when I saw these diamond duos in my local bead store, I just had to try them. I'd seen, I think, a few videos, and I'd seen some designs online that people had done, and I thought, oh, these just look like they'd be kind of fun. And I really like the super duo, so diamond duos made a lot of sense to me. Okay, so I'm on the last one. I'm going to go ahead and make my loop on this last one, and there we have it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the work to the back side. So I'm calling the flat side of the diamond duos the back, basically. And I seem to have gotten my thread inside the loop. I'm going to go up into the same loop and just go through the first 3 beads. So I want to be exiting out of the middle bead of the loop. And I bet you guys can guess what I'm going to do next. I'm going to pick up a bead, pick up an 11/0 basically, and I'm going to go into the middle bead of the next loop. And I'm basically creating a back. I'm connecting the loops together to create a back for this piece, and it's going to give a nice, slightly more stable piece, and it's going to just look more finished. So here they are, they're coming together. Picking up another one and just going into those middle beads of the loop. So bead number 3 in all of these loops. So let's see, I'm on number 4 here, or 5, I guess. Here's the last loop. So I'm bringing it together, and now I got to connect that last loop to the first loop in the set. And then I'm going to go ahead and reinforce. So I'm just going to go through all of these little beads. Okay, So here's what it looks like. Looks kind of nice, right? Just gives it cleans it up. There's the front. And there's the back. Now what we're going to do is, I'm going to continue to reinforce before I do anything else. I went into the wrong bead. See? Another blooper. Oops. Come back out of that one. And go into this one. Okay. So I've made it all the way around because I'm back to where this was here originally. Now I'm going to go into the 211 O's. Here, and there it is. So here's what the piece should look like in the back. Let's turn it back to the front, and I'm going to go into my round bead here. There's the round. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up nine beads, and I'm going to make my loop for my clasp. And that's 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And go back through that same 4mm round bead. There's the loop. And I'm going to reinforce that, but I'll do that in just a second. First thing is I need to rethread my needle because I pulled the needle out of the thread. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got my needle threaded. Really, I'm very clumsy today. I have no idea why. I'm going to pick up 3 11 O's. I'm exiting out of this 4mm bead here where I made this loop, and I'm going to go to the next 4mm bead. And basically what this does is it's just going to put a little decorative piece here between my round beads. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pick up 3, and I'm going to go into the next 4mm bead. Pick up 3 more and continue. All I'm doing is just kind of giving the piece a nice finished look. And I picked up 4, so put that away, and just going all the way around until I come back to my loop here, and then I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this loop. So I'm going to go through this one, and then I've got one more to do. So there it is. There's I'm in the last one here. And now I can reinforce my loop again. I can run back up through all these beads. So I'm probably going to do that twice more. That means I've given it sort of a 3x reinforcement. I like to do things in 3s. I don't know why, but I find in beading 3 knots, reinforcing things 3 times. If I can get my needle through the beads, works really, really well. I find that most things do not fall apart. And this time I have my pliers with me so that if it is a little tight, I'm going to do that instead of trying to tug on the needle with my lotion-covered hands. By the way, I know my hands just look super wrinkly because they're just been very dry. It's a very dry air here in St. Louis, and it's actually kind of warm today, but it's been chilly and dry. All right, I'm done. So I'm just going to go ahead and go down these last 2 11-0s and then through the fire polish. It's gotten a little tight, even the, or not the fire polish, but the round, the faceted round that I'm using. And this should feel pretty snug and set. So go ahead and go through the 3 11-0s that you added that are between each of the rounds. And I'm just going to make a 1/2 inch knot here. So I'm going between the beads and just making my loop and going into the next one. So I'm gone through the 4mm and then up into the 11-0s. I'm just going to go through this one 11-0 and then make my knot. And we're going to do this one last time. So I'm going to go into this bead, the 4mm bead, and then into the seed beads. Make my knot. And pull the knot through. And now I'm just going to weave away a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to cut the thread. Okay, so this is unit number 1, and that's how you do 1. I will show you how to do the subsequent units, which are actually going to be attached, and they're done a little bit differently. So the first unit is done one way, and then we have to alter the pattern to do all the other units. I'll be back. All right, so to continue with our beading, first thing we're going to do is add new thread. So to do that, what I like to do is actually tie my knot first. And so I'm doing a 1/2 inch knot, essentially. So this is the end of my thread here. And I'm going to go between the 4mm and the 11-0s on my beadwork here. So, and I'm actually, well, I guess it's a square knot, not a 1/2 inch, but I'm tying it onto the thread between the 2 beads is what I'm doing. And you'll understand my reasoning in just a second. You see what I do with it. Okay. So there it is. It's in. I've left a little tail, which I can weave in later. And I'm going to go into that 4mm now. I'm going to take the needle through it. And this gets this first knot inside this 4mm. And then I'm going to continue as I go through the 11-0 beads. And you want to make sure that thread isn't getting wrapped around the beads or anything. And give it a little tug so the knot is inside. Now just go through this one 11-0 and now you do a 1/2 inch knot. So I'm going to do, again, it's a series of 3 knots, what I typically do. So that's my second knot, and I'm going to go ahead and continue. So I go into the 4 millimeter, if I can speak correctly. 11 O's, and out of this last 11, and doing the half hitch knot again, last time. Exit out of the 4 millimeter, and now you have thread, a new thread added on to this unit here. Now we have to make our middle connector, and so I'm going to pick up an 8/0, a 4 millimeter, an 8/0, 4 millimeter, and 8/0, and one more 4 millimeter. So you have a total of 4, and of course, one last 8/0 bead. Pull the thread down, and you're going to go back into the 4 millimeter bead here. And it might be a little tricky to get through because you've gone through this bead multiple times, passed through it a few times, and it's kind of tight around the area. So this is the loop you get, and go through it one more time to reinforce it. So that's what I'm doing here, and I'm going to go through these 3, and then try to get through this 4 millimeter. The good thing is the 4 millimeter rounds that I'm using have a pretty big hole, so you should be able to go quite a few passes through it. And if you want, you can probably even do it a 3rd time. I'm going to hold off on doing that again for the sake of the video and time and so forth. Okay, so there it is. There's our connector. Now what you're going to do is pick up diamond duos, and you want to make sure if you're looking at this diamond duo, you're going into the right hole or the top hole, depending on how you look at it. And you're going to keep going until you've picked up 6 diamond duos and 5 of the rounds, because you already got this one round. So, and I'm just being careful to pick up, make sure the position of my diamond duos is so that the bump is in the upward position. That's what I have so far. So I got a total of 4. Another round. That's number 5 in the diamond duos, and there's number 6 for the diamond duos. Now you're going to go back through just this 4 millimeter here in this round, or that's connected here to the loop is what I'm trying to say. So what we're doing is we're actually making this next component in reverse. So when we started with the inner connection in the diamond duos and then made the outer one. Here, we're starting with the outer, and what you want to do is you don't actually want to be, You don't want to pull this too tight. So you want it close together, but not so tight. And you can even go through it a second time. So I'm just turning it around, makes it a little easier on my wrist. And just going to go through the beads a second time. Like I said, this is always going to be a little bit tricky to do because the diamond duos do move around a lot and they flip constantly. So just be patient. You'll get it. Okay, I'm back to the center here. So I've gone through them twice. I'm going to go into the next diamond duo here and just like that. And then I'm going to flip down into the other hole and I'm going to connect all the diamond duos together. And you'll probably only be able to go through 2 or 3 at a time. This is very fiddly. Okay, there we go. Don't worry, it does work. I've tried it. I'm not very good at sort of recording and designing as I go. I have to kind of have a piece laid out and figured out all the twists and turns that I want to do before I actually start to record the video. So, and as you can see, these pieces don't want to flip. They want to stay in the other position. Can't blame them. It's probably... And this is why I was saying don't make it too tight on the top portion, because if it's too tight, you'll have a hard time with it, which is probably what I did here. I made it a little too tight when I went through it a second time. So what you want to do is you pop them up. If you do that, what you want to do is pop them upward and then tighten. And it will come together. There we go. And I need to connect this one last diamond duo. So there we are. It took a little bit of fiddling. Like I said, don't do what I just did. Don't make it too tight and you'll be okay. It does work. Don't worry. Okay, so I'm going to go through one more of the diamond duos. And then I'm going to go back into the top hole. And if you can come out of the closest 4mm in that direction too. There it is. I pulled my work out of my hands. Now you make your loop of 5 like we did before. So pick up 5, go through it, then go through the next diamond duo, and then if you can, go ahead and go into the next 4mm. The angle that I'm at, I'm not able to do it. So I'm going to go into the next one, the next 4mm now. You're going to make a loop of 5. Around this 4mm. So just go back through. Just like so, and we're actually going to push those towards the inside, like that. Then go through the diamond duo. And the next 4mm. Pick up 5. Make this next loop then. I do apologize for doing that again. My finger got caught in the thread, and now I'm going through this diamond duo here. And I'm trying to get the needle to go into the 4mm or next to it too at the same time. They're actually not tight, but the holes are not completely lined up. And pick up 5. Go back through that same one. Okay, so we just have to make loops around 2 more. Go through the diamond duo. And 4mm if you can. If you can't, just go through them one at a time. No rush. Five more. Okay, go through the diamond duo again. And okay, I'm just going to go through the diamond duo first. Make sure your thread doesn't wrap around anything. Now go through the 4mm. And we are going to make our 6th loop. I picked up 6 because I was thinking 6, but you're only picking up 5. Okay, so the loops are around all of our 4mm rounds. So I'm going to go back up this loop, and I'm just going through the first 3 beads in the loop, coming out of that middle 11-0 bead within the loop, like here. And just like we did in the previous unit, you're going to connect all of these loops together. So you only pick up the center bead of the group of 5. And we're going to bring all these loops together. Just picking that middle bead. Picking up 1 and just going through the middle. 11-0 in each loop. Okay, there we go. Got to do this couple more. This last loop has to connect to the whole circle here. It's coming together, and last time, so connecting that last loop to the first loop, and I'm going through a few more of these beads to reinforce the whole thing. There it is, it came together. Keep going with the reinforcement, go through them all. This will help make it much tighter. Essentially, if you want to keep track, you should be going through 12 11-0 beads. So I'm going to go through the next 3. And that should put me right back where I started. And there's the back of unit number 2. So what you're going to do now is come out of one of these 4mm beads. So I'm exiting this bead here, and I'm just going to go up into these 2 11-0 beads that are next to it, and I come out of the 4mm. So this is the front. See, it all came together. And now we're going to put our little decorative parts to this. So you pick up 3 and you go into the next round. So pick up 3 11-0s, just go into the next round. Thread is twisted. There we go. Just like that. And pick up 3 more. Go into this next one, which is in the middle here. I'm shaking the table. It's probably why the camera's shaking. And there's that picot. I mean, basically we're adding little picots to make it a little more decorative. Looks cleaner. And so make sure this picot is on top. Just like that. Keep going. Here's the last picot. And there it is. There's our unit. Okay, well, I hope you guys are liking this, because this is what you're going to continue to do. So what you're going to do now is work your way back around to this 4mm round, and we add the next unit to it. So I'm just going to go through seed beads and the rounds. So this one's going to be a little bit tricky, I know, because it's pretty, we've gone through a lot of thread through that. And One of the reasons I don't like to use long thread on camera is because it's just fiddly when you have the camera in front of you. But it is the way it goes. Get my pliers. And I'm almost there. Little distance to go. So as you work your way through, your thread should be exiting this 4mm round, and then what you do is you pick up an 8/0, a round, 8/0, round, 8/0, round, and 8/0. Now I'm going to turn the work to the back, and we're just going to go back through the round again. Get the circle, the connection in place. Flip it upward or flip it back to the front, and then just reinforce like we did before. And go through the beads again, like I'm doing here. I'm coming out of this 8/0 that's here. I'm going to turn the work again and then go through this 4mm. It just makes it a little bit easier because there's these 11/0s surrounding it, and it's a little bit tricky to get through without going into all these other beads. Also, I've gone through that 4mm a few times, and so it's a little snug to get the needle out. I'm just pushing the picots to the top. And then work your way back to this 4mm. And then you continue. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep making units just the way I showed you how to make this unit. So what you do next is you start picking up your diamond duos and you make that outer ring like I showed you, then connect the inner ring together, and that's it. That's how you continue. So I'll be back with the finished bracelet. Here is my finished bracelet. So I ended up making 5 units, as I showed you at the beginning of the video. I made about a 5.5, maybe a little, almost 6-inch bracelet. And then I just added some jump rings and a lobster claw clasp. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and stay tuned for my Sunday tutorial where I will again go back to doing beads that are more common to your bead stash. And actually, on Sunday, I'm probably going to post the finished tutorial for this. I remember posting this picture on both my Facebook and my Instagram, asking you guys to guess what this is. So I will have the entire tutorial showing you what exactly I did here. And for those of you who don't know how to do crawl, this is kind of an advanced, intermediate to advanced video on doing crawl. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. See you next time.